Hey guys, Sean here. Welcome to the F1 Word and to the preview for the 2023 Qatar Grand Prix, the final standalone event of the season, a potentially title-confirming weekend, and, sorry Eamon, the first of 3 sprint events across the next 4 races. I'm just going to jump straight into it this week because we've got loads to get through, so let's crack on, starting as always with a look at the circuit and all the usual stats that follow. So last time out, F1 was at Suzuka for the Japanese Grand Prix, where Red Bull sealed their 6th Constructors' Championship title. But now, for the first time since 2021, it is on to Qatar for the 17th race of the season. A lap of the Lusail International Circuit is 5.419 kilometers long. That is just over 3.36 miles if you prefer, and is made up of a total of 16 corners, with 57 laps scheduled for Sunday's race and 19 for the sprint on Saturday. F1, by the way, does not list a race lap record for the circuit, but back in 2021, the fastest lap of the race was a 1:23.196 set by Max Verstappen. There will be just the one DRS zone in use this weekend, and that runs down the start-finish straight, with the detection point for that zone just after turn 15. So turn 1 will be a key overtaking spot, but that first sequence of corners did give us some fun side-by-side action a couple of years ago, so hopefully we'll see the same again on Saturday and Sunday. I should mention as well that the track layout remains unchanged since the last time F1 visited, but the circuit has been completely resurfaced, and there has also been extensive work carried out to improve facilities, including larger pit garages and modified curbs. Let's see what difference that all makes this weekend. And just a reminder, by the way, that back in 2021, it was Lewis Hamilton who took pole position and the win in Qatar, leading home Max Verstappen and the Alpine of Fernando Alonso. Now, before we move on, I'd just like to say another huge thank you to Headout for sponsoring this week's preview. If you didn't already know, Headout is a ticketing company offering tickets to experiences and attractions all over the world. They also offer the best F1 race weekend tickets at some pretty amazing prices, something I know some of you took full advantage of in the last preview. Next up for F1 is the United States Grand Prix in Austin, and we are giving you the chance to get your hands on weekend grandstand passes to the race at COTA for just $500. Those passes include access to fan zones, concerts, and because it's another sprint weekend, a total of 2 F1 races, so plenty of action to enjoy. And the first 10 people to use the code F1WORD500 via the link in the video description can grab the offer of weekend passes for the great price of just $500. Hurry though, because that code is limited to just 10 uses. And once again, you might want to stick around until the end of the video, because there will once again be 2 codes on screen somewhere, which will give 2 of you the chance to grab 1 free ticket each. Good luck, and let me know down in the comments if you do pick up any tickets for the weekend. I would love to know. Of course, the race at COTA is just a couple of weeks away now, meaning after the race in Qatar, there will be just 5 races left in 2023, which obviously means that if we include this weekend, there are 6 races left. Maths. And that, by the way, is a very convenient stat, because 6 is also the number of dry tyre compounds available in the Pirelli range. Oh yes, people, that is right. It is tyre talk time once again. The compounds available for this one then are at the harder end of the ranges, so they are the hard C1, the medium C2, and the soft C3. Now, Pirelli says that when it comes to severity, the circuit is very challenging for the tyres and is similar to Silverstone and Suzuka, which is why the harder tyres have been nominated. They also add that although 11 of the 16 corners are right-handers, which will put stress on the left-hand side of the car, the data from 2021 shows that energy levels were actually quite well balanced between the 2 axles. Just something interesting I pulled out of their press release and wanted to mention, but it is going to be tough on all 4 tyres, and the heat, which we'll get to shortly, is certainly going to play its part as well. It is also worth a mention that as this is a sprint event, there will only be one 60-minute practice session for the teams to get up to speed, and that session is being held during the day, but all the competitive running is happening under the lights during the evening. So whilst getting some laps on the board will absolutely still be important, teams are going to have limited data when it comes to the rest of the weekend. And yes, they do have info from the last time F1 raced at the circuit, but as already mentioned, the track has been resurfaced since, so that data isn't going to be all that useful. I mean, that and the fact the cars and the tyres have changed massively since the last time we raced here, that's also worth a mention, but this weekend is going to be all about who can adapt the most quickly, and maybe that will help to spring a few surprises. As for the winning strategy in 2021, it was a two-stopper with Lewis Hamilton starting on the mediums before switching to the hards on lap 18 and then back to the mediums on lap 42. There were actually a good mix of one and two stop strategies throughout the field though, and Max Verstappen did pit late on for a third time for a set of softs, which enabled him to snatch the fastest lap of the race on the final lap of the race. And for what it's worth, the fastest pit stop in 2021 was 2.19 seconds carried out by Red Bull, and the overall pit lane lost time according to the FIA was between 25 and 27 seconds. The weather for this weekend is pretty easy to sum up in all honesty. It'll be hot and dry. As I sit here and record this on Wednesday afternoon, there is a 0% chance of any rain falling in any session over the course of the weekend. So all eyes are on the temperatures, with highs on Friday expected to hit 35 and 32 degrees for practice and qualifying respectively. The shootout on Saturday is forecast to see temperatures reach 36 degrees, with the sprint expected to see highs of 31 degrees. And when it comes to the race on Sunday, the forecast currently says we can expect to see highs of 33 degrees in time for lights out, which is around about 23 degrees hotter than I like it to be. But I won't be in Qatar, so who cares? But anyway, that forecast could all change by the weekend, but I wouldn't get your hopes up for any rain. And your schedule for this one is obviously different to last time out because of the sprint format, and it is also largely an evening one over here. So the one and only practice session on Friday kicks the weekend off at 2:30 p.m. BST, with qualifying for Sunday's race underway from 6 p.m. Saturday's action starts with the sprint shootout at 2 p.m. and that is followed by the sprint itself at 6:30 p.m. And it is lights out for the race on Sunday at 6 p.m. and once again that is in UK time. Now before I make my predictions, there are a few things I want to mention ahead of this weekend's action. First up, the FIA has, as was widely expected, approved Andretti's application to become the 11th team on the F1 grid. Very exciting news, but a long way to go yet. The FIA said that Andretti was the only candidate to meet the stringent criteria that were set out by the FIA in all material respects from the 14 which lodged formal applications. Applicants, by the way, were assessed on their sporting and technical ability, as well as their ability to raise and maintain sufficient funding to compete at a representative level. The statement from the FIA went on to add that their objective was to only approve prospective entries which satisfied the set criteria and illustrated that they would add value to the sport. Now, Andretti will need to convince Formula One management, the commercial rights holder, that they will add value to the sport and negotiate a deal for a place on the grid. It's not going to be easy, though, with a number of teams, let's say, lukewarm at the prospect of a new team joining the sport. Now, of course, all of this will come down to money. The short version of it all is that the current teams don't want their slice of the pie to be worth less than it currently is. Obviously, a new entrant would mean that that pie is sliced 11 ways rather than 10, and the current teams would prefer the whole pie to be bigger so they don't lose anything should a new team join, which is one of the reasons why the anti-dilution fee exists. I'm not going to get into it all now because this is just a preview and there's lots more to say on this. So if you do want to hear my thoughts on it all, then make sure you join me for the post-sprint waffle on Saturday, where I'm sure the topic will crop up again. One thing is for sure though, it's going to be interesting to hear what the teams have to say about it all this weekend. Moving on though, and Max Verstappen could clinch his third consecutive World Championship title this weekend in Qatar and could even do it in Saturday's sprint race. I mean, I say could, in reality it's highly likely it will be confirmed by the end of Sunday's race at the latest. If Verstappen finishes 6th or higher in the sprint on Saturday, he will be champion regardless of where Sergio Perez manages to finish. The Dutchman will also be champion if his teammate fails to finish in the top 3 on Saturday. And if Verstappen fails to finish the sprint and Perez goes on to win it, then Max will seal the title if he finishes 8th or higher on Sunday or finishes 9th and gets the points for fastest lap. Actually, there's a very simple way of summing all of this up. Verstappen needs to leave Qatar with a championship advantage of 146 points to take the title, and needs just 3 points between now and the end of the season to be crowned champion again. I think he's got a good chance of wrapping it up this weekend. And finally for this part, if you were looking forward to seeing Daniel Ricciardo back on track, I'm afraid you'll have to wait a little bit longer, because it has been confirmed that Liam Lawson will continue to fill in for the Aussie in Qatar. It has also been reported by Chris Medland for Racer that Ricciardo's recovery has gone smoothly, but the timeline given to the Australian was always pointing to a return at the US Grand Prix with an outside chance of a return in time for Qatar. That report, which I will link below, also goes on to say that while Ricciardo could have attempted to return this weekend, any unforeseen issues on Friday would have disrupted the rest of the event for Lawson and AlphaTauri, because, as already mentioned, there is only the one practice session at this event, meaning Lawson would have had to go straight into qualifying with absolutely no preparation. So to protect against that risk, Ricciardo will continue his recovery and Lawson will get one more weekend in F1. Right then, time for me to make my usual round of predictions, and as always, please do not take these too seriously. They're just a little bit of fun, but if you do disagree with my picks, then you can let me know yours in the comment section down below. And last time out, it all went quite well, with points for Verstappen's pole win and fastest lap, as well as half a point for Norris on the podium, but in the wrong position. Very nice indeed, although 46 points out of 112 is another reminder why these are just for fun and you really shouldn't be taking them too seriously at all. Double disclaimer with an example. But this week, well, I'd be lying if I didn't say I expect Verstappen and Red Bull to be overwhelming favourites once again. And that's even with the unpredictability that one fairly unrepresentative practice session on a track teams already have limited useful data about could bring. That is just how dominant they've been this year. Also, among many other things, stability at high speed will be key, and drivers will want to know their car will find the grip it needs when taking on those fast-flowing corners, and that's something which shouldn't be a problem for Red Bull, as we've seen throughout the course of this season. So, yeah, I'm going with Verstappen for a clean sweep of pole, shootout, P1, sprint win, and the race win. That said, Red Bull haven't been as dominant in qualifying this year as they have in the races, have they? So maybe someone else could spring a surprise. Behind Verstappen, though, I know Sergio Perez had a tough weekend in Japan. A shockingly bad weekend might be a fairer statement, to be honest. But he will want to bounce back from that, and again, this track should suit that car. So I'll go with Checo for P2. When it comes to the final step on the podium, though, I honestly don't know. Ferrari could be ones to watch, but high tyre degradation might be a concern for them versus their rivals when it comes to the races. They might, though, be in with a shot of challenging Red Bull for P1 in qualifying and the shootout, so that might mix things up a bit. Do you know what, actually? No, sorry, I'm changing my mind on the fly here. I want to make this more interesting. So, whilst absolutely acknowledging that Red Bull will probably be the favourites and that McLaren could well be in the mix too, and you never really know with Mercedes, cover all bases, I'm actually going with Charles Leclerc for pole on Friday and P1 in the shootout on Saturday, but I'll stick with Verstappen for the sprint and race win, move Checo to P3 on Sunday and slot Leclerc into P2 instead. I might be way off, I probably will be, but at least it's more interesting than just picking Max across the board again, even if it is very possible that could happen. That is it then for the Qatar Grand Prix preview, but you can let me know your thoughts and your predictions ahead of the weekend in the comment section down below, or let me know with a flag emoji which of the remaining F1 races you're looking forward to most, you know, for the sake of engagement. And also, make sure to grab your tickets for the US Grand Prix from headout.com via the link in the description. Again, though, hurry as the code is limited to just 10 uses. Now, I will be back soon with some more content, as always, including the usual live race reaction stream on Sunday. In the meantime, though, if you did enjoy this one, then please do leave a like, as it really does help the channel in its fight with the YouTube algorithm. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on any future videos or streams. But as ever, thank you for watching. I've been Sean, this has been the F1 Word, and until next time, goodbye.